The sixth question is to implement in Java the 01 knapsack problem using two techniques. First one is dynamic programming and second is greedy method. So let's look at the first one, which is dynamic programming. In this program, we'll be creating a class called knapsack DP. So in this, we'll be having three things. First is the main function, and second is the knapsack function, and third is the read object function. So what does main function do? Firstly, it initializes variables which are going to be used, okay, and it calls the read function. We'll see what the read function does here. And after that, it initializes the table here, which is the first row in the first column as 0. This is the table of the knapsack which we'll be using. There are list of objects here, and the profits also are there, okay. So the maximum capacity is given to us. We are choosing the objects and the maximum profit which can be placed in the container, okay. Means which objects we choose will give us the maximum profit that we are trying to find out, okay. That's the knapsack problem. So in the module 4 dynamic programming, I have discussed the theoretical concept of it. So if you want, you can watch that as well, but if not, see if you can understand directly in this explanation, then go on further, okay. So let's get started. The first one, what it will do after creating the table and initializing the rows and the values as 0 is, it will call the knapsack problem. That will be looking here in by taking an example, and it outputs the optimal solution finally, okay. That's the main function. In the read object function, we are taking the input of the knapsack size and then takes the number of objects and takes the weights and the profit of each object, okay. So we'll be looking at what the knapsack function does. So this is the knapsack problem here, okay. It starts from here. It has nested for loop. First for loop runs from I to n, and second for loop runs from j to j is equal to 0 to m, okay. So and in each of these for loop we'll be performing if condition, if else condition, and then after the two for loops get over, the final for loop will be used for initializing the keep values, okay. So we'll be looking at each of these what it is, okay. So initially this is the profits and the weights of each object. So object 1 is weighing 2 kilogram and has the weight has the profit 3, has the profit $3, and the second is second item is 3 kilogram and profit 4, and the third object is having the weight 4 and the profit as 5, and the fourth object is having the weight as 5 and the profit as 6, okay. So this is not there, okay. Only 4 rows and 5 columns. And 5 columns means why we have created 5 columns is it's actually 6 columns, because the first row and the column will be excluding, okay. So it's basically 5 columns which has the capacity 5, okay. So in this problem we have been given the capacity 5, okay. W is equal to 5, but in our problem we are taking W as m, okay. So in this case m is 5 here, and n is nothing but the number of objects 1 2 3 4, okay. So 4 objects are there. So I will run from 1 to 4, okay. I is running from 1 to 4 means first iteration for this row, second iteration for this one, third for this one, and fourth for this one. And for each iteration we'll be accessing the columns, okay. From 0 to m means from 0 to 5 we'll be accessing the columns. First iteration, this column will be accessed, second, third, fourth, and fifth, okay. So in this way we are accessing the elements. So what we'll be doing in the initial stages, in the initial stage we'll be initializing the first row and the first column as 0, okay. So we'll be making the changes here. This will be all zeros, okay. Now after doing that, what you have to do is we'll be moving on with the code here. I and the j's value will be noting down, okay. I is 1 here initially and j is 0, okay. That means I is 1 here and j is 0, okay. Now I is 1 and j is 0 means the first thing what we have to do is, if w of I is less than or equal to j, what is w of I? W of I means w of 1. W of 1 means this. What we are seeing this, what we are seeing is this less than this one, okay. J starting from 0, is this less than this one? Is 2 less than 0? No, it's not. So what does that mean? This means that these are the kilograms, like 2 kilogram, 3 kilogram, 4 kilogram, and 5 kilogram objects, okay. And these are the containers. So firstly we are seeing that, can the container contain the object here which is of 2 kilogram and the container size is 0 here? Can this container contain the object with weight 2? No, it cannot contain. If it cannot contain, then what happens is this one will become false, okay. This condition will become false, this will become 0. So anyways this is an AND condition, so this whole condition will become 0. So we'll not execute this line of code, we'll go with the else condition. What is the else condition? In else condition we have v of ij is equal to v of I minus 1 j, means v of ij is v of 1 comma 0, means this location should have the value of v of I minus 1 j. I minus 1 means 0. this value. The previous value should be copied in the this location. So it's already copied, we had made here as 0. What's basically happening is, in case the container cannot contain the object, at that time previous value should be copied here. Okay, that's done. I will be incremented now. See, this is the if else condition is over here. Then we'll be incrementing j, not I. Okay, j will become 1 now. When j is 1, we'll make the changes here. Now j is 1. Okay, when j is 1, what we have to do, see here, when j is 1, we are concerned with this cell here. In this cell, what we have to compare, we have to compare, can this weight, is this weight less than the container? No, it's not. If it's not, what we have to do, we have to copy the previous value, right? If we copy the previous value, it will be 0 here. Okay, then j will be incremented to 2. Let's make the change here. J is 2 now. When j is 2, what's the value of the container? It's 2, and the object of weight and the object weight is also 2. In this case, what we have to do is, we'll get the condition true here. This condition will become true, w of I is less than or equal to j. The second condition which we have to check is p of I plus v of I minus 1 and j of w minus I. Okay, let's see each one by one. What is p of I? P of I means profit of the first object is 3. 3 plus v of I minus 1 and j minus w of I. J is 2 now, w of I is 2, 2 minus 2 is 0. So this is the column number, and I minus 1, 1 minus 1, 0. This is the row number. Row number and column number, v value we are looking, means this value. This value plus p of I. P of I is this one. 3 plus this value. What is 3 plus 0? It's 3. Now we are checking if 3 is greater than v of I minus 1 comma j. What is v of I minus 1? V of I minus 1 means v of 0, this row, and j. What is j? 2, means this location. We are comparing this location with 3. We got 3 plus 0, right? Is 3 plus 0 greater, or this location is greater? 3 plus 0 is greater. So in this case, we'll write here 3. Okay, see here, we'll write here 3. In v of ij means in the memory location we are concerned about now, this location, what we have to write? P of I plus v of I minus 1 and j minus w of I. That means this is the memory location of this one, plus p of I is the profit, which is 3. So we'll have to write that value where? In v of ij. V of ij is this location. Okay, here we'll be writing 3. Okay, now next j will become 3 now. Okay, j is incrementing, j will become 3 now. When j is 3, we have to look at this location now. In this location, first we'll be comparing if this location j, if w of I is less than j, is 2 less than 3? Yes, that means the container 3 can contain 2. Okay, that's what we are looking. Now we have to fill in this value. But before that, another condition is also there. The second condition is p of I plus v of I minus 1 j minus w of I. That means which location? V of I minus 1 means this row, that's confirmed. And which column? J minus w of I. What is w of I? W of I is 2, so j minus 2. J is 3, 3 minus 2 is 1. So this location, this column and this row, this value, we have to compare this value plus the profit. The profit is 3. 0 plus 3, is it greater than the previous value here? Is it greater than this one? Yes, it is greater. So if it is greater, we have to write this value here. Okay, so we'll be writing that value here, 3. Okay, and along with that, we have to make one more change here. Keep of ij. See, whenever the if condition is true, at that time keep of ij also will become 1. So in this, in our case, what happens is keep of ij. We have made changes here, right? First row and first column will be 0. So let's initialize that here. 0 0 0 0 0, and here also 0. Okay, and we had started from here. The first one, if we copy the previous value, at that time the keep of ij will also be 0. Okay, so here keep of ij will be 0 only. The next one, we had made changes here, right? Means 3 is not copied from the previous value. So in these two locations, we'll make keep of ij as 1. Okay, so here the keep of ij value will be 1. Okay, this from here. Okay, see here, from if and else condition, keep of ij is 1 when it will be greater, means profit is greater. If profit is not greater, we have to copy the previous value. At that time the keep of ij will be 0. Okay, so see here, we have made these two changes. Now increment the j value. J will become 4 now. When j is 4, at that time j is 4 now. Now what we have to do, we have to compare if the container can contain the object. See here, this is the container 4. Can it contain the object with weight 2? Yes, it can contain. Now we are checking the previous value. Means we are checking the profit plus W of I, J minus W of I. What is J minus W of I? See which row we are checking. I minus 1. I minus 1 means this one 0, this row, and which column? J minus W of I. J is 4, 4 minus 2, 2, this location. We are checking this value plus the profit, which is 3. So 3 plus 0. Is it greater than the previous value here? V of I minus 1 and J? Yes, it is greater. So we'll be writing here 3. Alright. So 3 will be written here. And since we have written 3, we are not copied the previous value here, so we'll make the keep of ij as 1. Okay, then the j will be incremented. Now j's value is 5. Okay, when j's value is 5, we'll be doing the same thing here. First we'll be checking the container. If the 5 if in the container of 5 2 can come, yes, it can come. So the next thing is we have to check the v of I minus 1, which means this row, and which column? W of I, j minus W of I. See here, j minus W of I. J minus W of I means 5 minus 2, which is 3. This column and this row, this location, this value plus the profit 3. So total profit is 3. Is 3 greater than this previous value? Yes, it is greater. So we'll write here 3. Okay. So when you write there 3, and we'll make the changes in the keep. Okay. In the keep we'll make it as 1. Okay, that was for the first iteration. Now the j loop has run from 0 to m, then I value will be incremented to 2. Now I is 2. Let's make the change here. I as 2. I will be 2 now. When I is 2, we will start from here. Okay, now I is 2 will be starting from this location here. Okay, in this location, what we have to check is the container able to contain the weight of the object? Container value is 1. Can it contain the object with weight 3? No, it cannot contain. So here what we'll do, we'll copy the previous value. So when you copy the previous value, then we have to make the change here as well. Okay, here also we'll make the change as 0, since the value is copied from the previous value. J value was 1, now j will be 2, and I is 2 only. Okay, now when j is 2, we are concerned about this row. Okay, in this row, this cell, what you have to check? Can this container contain the object? No, it cannot. So we have to make here the previous value. We have to copy the previous value, which is 3, and we have to make the corresponding change in the keep also. In keep, we'll make the value here as 0, because we had copied the previous value. Okay, then j will become 3. Okay, when j becomes 3, at that time what we have to do is I have to look at this column. Can 3 contain the object with the weight 3? Yes, it can contain. If it can contain, we have to compare two values. The first value is the profit plus j minus W of I. What is j minus W of I? Firstly, I minus 1, this row, and which column? J minus W of I. What is j? J is 3. 3 minus W of I. What is W of I? 3. 3 minus 3 is 0. This row and this column, this value we have to compare, plus the profit, means 4 plus 0. Is it greater than this the previous value 3? Yes, it is greater. If it is greater, we have to write the new value here, which is 4, and that will be reflected back in the keep table. Okay, we'll make it as 1. Then j's value will increment and it will become 4. Okay, then when j's value will become 4, it will contain it. So what we have to do is we have to check if the which value, the I minus 1 row, and which value, j minus W of I. 4 minus how much is included? W of I 3. 4 minus 3 is 1. So this value is compared with this value plus the profit, which is 4 plus 0. Is it greater than the previous value? Yes. Then we'll make the change here. Okay, so we'll make the change here and write here 4. Okay, then we'll make the corresponding change in P also. We will make the corresponding change in the keep table also. Here it will be 1, and next j value will be incremented to 5. Okay, when j value is 5, here comes the change. Now observe carefully what happens. When j's value is 5, it can contain, that's true. The next thing which you have to look at is the which value we have to compare. I minus 1 row, the profit plus I minus 1 row, and j minus W of I. J is 5 minus W of I is 3. 5 minus 3 is 2. So this one. So this row and this column. See here, this row I minus 1 and the j minus W of I. J minus W of I. 5 minus 3, 2. This column. This cell. 3 plus the profit. What is 3 plus the profit? 3 plus 4 is 7. See, 7 is greater than the previous value 3 here. So in this case, what we'll do, we'll write 7 here, and then we'll make the corresponding change in the keep table also. Okay, now this will be 1 here. Next, in the next row, the I will become 3 and j will become 0. Okay, now when I is 3 and j is 0, we are concerned about this. We are concerned about this one. See, j will be 1 because this is anyway 0, so we have to start with j is equal to 1. So let's make that change here. When j is 1, when j is 1, we are concerned about this column. Okay, this cell. In this cell, see if the container can contain the object or not. The container value is 1, the weight is 4. Can it contain? No. This also cannot contain, the 2 also cannot contain, 3 also cannot contain. So in these 3 we have to copy the previous values 0, 3, 4 and make the corresponding change in the keep table. We have made the change here, so these 3 values will be 0. Okay, since you have copied the previous value. After that, we are concerned with the fourth row when j is equal to 4. So let's make the change here, j as 4. When j is 4, what we have to look at is, can the container contain 4? Yes, it can contain. The next thing, we have to compare which row, I minus 1 row and j minus w of I. J is 4, w of I is also 4, so 0 row, 0 column. So this cell we have to compare, add it with the profit. 0 plus 5 is 5. Is 5 greater than the previous value, which is 4? Yes, it is greater. So make the change here, write here 5 and make the change in the keep table also. So here I'll make as 1. The next one, here what we have to observe is, when j value will be incremented to 5. Okay, j's value is 5 now. Now when j's value is 5, can the container contain the object? Yes, it can contain. Now observe here very carefully, the change comes here. Now what is the thing which cell we have to compare? The cell we have to compare is I minus 1 and j minus w of I. J is 5, w of I is 4. 5 minus 4 is 1. Okay, 5 minus 4 is 1. This cell and plus the profit. Okay, this cell and the profit means 5 plus 0. Is it greater than the previous value, which is 7? No, it is not. See here, observe carefully, 7 is greater. That means what is happening is, if I include the 5 object, if I include this object, at that time 4 kilogram will be used, so 1 kilogram is left. So what is the maximum profit I had with 1 kilogram? In the previous row it was 0. So in this case I'll get the total profit as 5 plus 0 in case I include the fourth object, because from 4 kilogram I'll get 5 profit, and from the remaining 1 kilogram I can't include any more object, so I'll get the profit as 0 only. Whereas in the other case, what I do is, the previous value, in the previous value I had 3 here and 2. Okay, so 3, 2, the total profit was 3 plus 4, which is 7. So in this case I had got 7. 7 is greater than 5. So in that case I'll go on with these two objects. So this is the main thing of checking the previous value. Okay, so in this case what I'll do is, I'll copy the previous value 7. So since I had copied the previous value and not made any new change, I'll make the keep as 0. Okay, so same thing we'll do for the last row also. So here what will be the value of I and j? I will be equal to 4 and j will be equal to 1. Okay, I is 4 and j is 1. When I is 4 and j is 1, what we'll be checking first is the container able to contain the object 5? This can't contain, this also and this also. So these 4 values will be copied from the top table. So we'll be writing that here, 0, 3, 4 and 5, and the corresponding change will be made in the keep table also. Since you have copied the values, you will initialize 4 times 0 here, and then the last one which I have to compare here. Here what we'll be comparing is whether the object is able to, whether the container is able to keep the object. Yes, it is able to keep the object. Which two values you have to compare? You have to compare j minus firstly I minus 1 row and j minus w of I. W of I is 5, j minus w of I is 0. So this row we are comparing. So what happens in this row is, if we include this object, at that time 5 kilogram totally will be used and the profit I get is 6. So 5 minus 5 is 0. At 0 weight I can't get any profit, so it will be 6 plus 0 only. Is it greater than the previous value, which is 7? No, it's not. So in this case I will be excluding this object and going on with the object 3 and 2. Okay, which gives me the profit 7. Okay, so I'll be copying the previous value here, 7, and then I'll be moving on with the keep table also. I'll make change as 0 because I have not made any new change. I have copied the previous value. Okay, having done that, what we'll be doing is this is over. Okay, means the for loop is over. Okay, nested for loop is over and we are ready with the v table. After that, what we have to do is the simple solution, the simple for loop which will be running from n to 0. What does n to 0 mean? N is 4. Okay, the loop will be running in the reverse order now from 4 to 0. And in this loop, what we'll be doing? In this loop, we'll be checking if keep of I and r is equal to 1. What is keep of I and r? R is m, m means 5. So we'll be starting from m is 5 means this row, and see here we are starting from this row and this column. Okay, 4 and 5. We are checking that if keep of, we are checking this table now. Okay, if this value is 1 or not. First we will be checking n is equal to 4 and m is equal to 5, which is keep of I and r, where I is 4 and r is 5. At that time we'll be checking if this value is 1 or not. What does that mean? That means that have we made any new change in this cell, or was it copied from the previous cell? In this case, we'll know if we had copied the previous value or made a new change by the 0 or 1. 0 means we have copied, or 1 and 1 means we have made a new change. Okay, so we'll be concerned just about the new changes which we have made. Okay, since it was copied, what we'll be doing is we'll be decrementing the I value. Okay, when I value decrements, I will become 3. Okay, see here, if will run only when it is 1. So since we had seen there it was 0 at the last position, so then we have to decrement the I value. I will decrement, I will become 3 now. So then next we will do the same thing. R is same, so R is 5 only. We'll check the this value. Is this the new updated change? Remember in this we had copied the previous value here, so this is also not new change. So I will decrement, I will become 2, and here have we made the new change? Yes, the new change was made here at this location. Okay, at this location the new change was made. So at which location the change is made, at that time this this will be executed. Keep of I and r will be 1. At that time you have to print I. What does I have? I has the item number. I has the item number. Okay, this is 1 here, so I's corresponding value is 2, so 2 will be printed. So this is the output here. The output will be 2, and then what we have to do, r is equal to r minus w of I. See, we have selected the item 2 here. Okay, see here, item 2 is selected. If item 2 is selected, its corresponding kilogram to be removed, right? So if I select the item 2, the corresponding kilogram weight is 3. So I'll be removing from 5 3. That means 5 minus 3, which is 2. Now I have only 2 kilogram space left. So where I will go? I will go to the column number 2, where I have the container for 2 kilogram. Okay, so I'll be going there in the column number 2, where I have 2 kilogram left. So r value is 2 now. R has the value of the remaining space. Okay, means initially I had r as 5, so space was 5. Now I've selected the object 2 whose weight is 3 kilogram. So 5 minus 3 will give me 2. So r will become 2 now. Next, what we have to check, I will decrement. When I will decrement, I will become 1. Okay, now I is 1 now. What we have to compare, keep of I and r. Keep of I and r means 1 comma 2. Keep of 1 comma 2. What does keep of 1 comma 2 mean? This one and this one. Is this 1 or not? 1 means we have made new change. Which is this value here? This is the 1, and 2 means this value. At this position we had made a new change here. Observe carefully. At this position we had made a new change here. Okay, whose weight is 2. At that time we had got the profit 3. Okay, so this one will be selected. Wherever we encounter 1, at that time we'll select the weight, which is 2 here. So 2 is nothing but the object 1. Okay, so since this selected I value is 1 now, and here it will come inside this loop. Since the value was 1, it will print I. What is I? I is 1. So 1 will be printed here, and then we'll see the next line of code. R is equal to r minus w of I. What is w of I? The weight of the object. The weight of the object is 2. R value is also 2. So the remaining space is completely filled by the object 1. So here r will become 0. When r will become 0, then we'll decrement I. I will also become 0 now, because I was 1, and now it will become 0. Then when I becomes 0, we have to exit the loop. When we exit the loop, at that time what we have to return is v of n and m. What is v of n and m? V of n and m means n is 4, m is 5. this is the optimal solution. Last location what you get is the optimal solution, because at each iteration what we are checking is this the maximum profit I can get or not. So at the last location obviously we'll have the maximum profit. So this is the optimal solution 7 that will be returned, and it will be printed inside the output. Okay, so output will have two things, 2 1 and means which items we have selected, 2 and 1 item we have selected, and what is the maximum profit, 7. Okay, so let's look in Java how to run the program. Let's go through the code here. We have a public class knapsack, which is this class here. We have three functions here. The first one is main function. Before that, we have initialized some variables and arrays here. Let's discuss that. First one is max 20, means the maximum number of objects. That constant is defined here. W for storing the weights, P for storing the profits, N for the number of objects, and M for the capacity of the knapsack. V is for the solution table which we had made earlier, and the keep is the 10 table. Okay, after that, starting from the main function, we'll initialize all these variables. Now we have declared these variables and we are initializing it here. Okay, with the value of max, so each will have the value of 20. Okay, and then we are creating a int opt solution. So this will store the solution returned by the knapsack, and we'll call the read object. What will read object do? It will print the enter the maximum capacity, and it will take the number of objects, weights, and the profits that will be stored in W and P of I. Okay, and after that we'll be making the first row and the first column as 0 by using two for loops, and then we'll be calling the knapsack problem. Finally the value returned by the knapsack will be stored in the opt solution. In the knapsack also, the two nested for loops were this one, which for the whole table, for accessing the whole cells of the table, all the cells of the table, and I runs from 1 to n, j runs from 0 to m, which is the maximum capacity, and we are using if else loop for finding out the maximum profit and storing it in the v table. And after that we are simultaneously initializing the keep value also. In case we are copying the value, we are writing the value as 0 in the keep table, else we are writing the value of 1 if we are initializing a new profit. Okay, then after that gets over, we are selecting the items. For that we are using the for loop which runs from I is equal to n to 0, from the last row to the first row, and r will be decremented from the first row to the last column to the 0 column. Okay, so we are selecting the object, and weights are decremented each time an object is selected, and we are outputting the which item number is there. Okay, and after that gets printed here. At last we'll return v of n and m. That's the last value in the cell of v table that gives the optimal solution. Okay, so let's run the program now. I'll be entering the maximum capacity of the knapsack as 5, and the number of objects as 4, and the weights are 2, 3, 4, and 5, and the profits are 3, 4, 5, and 6. This is the same example which I had taken. So the items are 2 and 1, and the optimal solution is 7. This was by dynamic programming. Let's move on to the next one.